We're very privileged to have Paul Hockey online, the first disabled person to climb Mount Everest from the north side in 2005 and still going strong. Welcome home. How are you, Paul?
G'day, how are you, Michael? I heard you talking about those op shops and the Crocs, mate. I love Crocs, and I haunt op shops all the time, so we're on the same page.
Excellent. I hope the staff are listening outside. Yep, Crocs. They all go.
All the way, mate. Love the Crocs. Crocs and tracksuit pants, mate. Can't beat it.
Very good. Mate, you know, the good thing is Parks and Leisure. I mean, we don't think enough of it, do we?
Well, we don't, but I'll tell you something interesting. One of the keynote speakers there, one of the international ones, who is very, very well respected worldwide in designing parks and spaces, is a gentleman by the name of Ethan Kent. And apparently he was walking down our Esplanade just the other day.
Yep.
And he made the comment to someone who I know that he thinks that the use of space here in Cairns is some of the best he's seen in the world, especially down around the lagoon area. So, you know, it's good to hear something like that. I mean, it's good to hear people like him telling us and reaffirming what we already know, how great Cairns is. So, you know, we're certainly on the right track, and they're all here running a conference. They've come from all different places, not just, you know, other countries, but mostly around Australia, and it's a really positive thing all around.
Yeah, look, it is remarkable. You know, I was lucky enough to go for a very long walk on Sunday. And, you know, you stop off for breakfast at, you know, the kiddies' playground up there. What's that place called? Muddies?
Yep.
You know, and, you know, everything's there. All the exercise gear, the walking tracks, the shade, the sun. Man, you know, they can't do any better, can they?
No, we've got it right, mate. Look, I also work as a tour guide and a coach driver with a local company here, Down Under Tours, and I meet people from all around the world every day. And, you know, they're just so impressed with the layout of Cairns. And I mean, Collins Avenue, for example, when you pull in there and the coach with international tourists on board, and the use of space there, the use of the natural environment. I mean, it's just a magical little area up around, you know, the Tanks, Botanic Gardens, all up through there, the Esplanade. And then, of course, we've just got that many hidden treasures around Cairns in regards to walking tracks and places where you can actually go hiking and get fit and enjoy nature. And, you know, as locals, I think we get used to it and take it for granted. But when you get visitors all the time just saying, wow, you're so lucky, it's just so great here, it's you sort of sit back and think, wow, you know, we are lucky to live here. We know that, but when you have a conference in town with people like that and their experiences, and, of course, National Parks and Leisure is all about use of space. It's all about doing things for the community so that people can really enjoy the outdoors and sort of get people and their families back outside, especially the younger ones, you know, get them away from those computers and get them outside again.
Oh, yeah, those damn computers. Don't you wish you could just, you know, have a time limit on them? Boom, you're allowed to use it between 3:30 and 4:30. Bing, goes off.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm a bit of a hypocrite, though, because I must admit I've just got my own iPhone surgically implanted on the head. But having said that, you know, there's that balance there, and I think that's the good thing about Parks and Leisure too. You know, they don't preach about it, but they're just saying, look, it's free, it's available to everybody, it's the outdoors, it's use of space, and it does encourage people naturally just to get back outside. And there's another gentleman in town, very well known internationally. He's a filmmaker, and his name's David Bond, and he's had a movie come out, or a documentary, Project Wild Thing.
Yeah, and doesn't it look fantastic?
It does, and it's been very well received. It's had a lot of global success, and he's down there at the conference centre, you know, talking to the delegates. You know, Tanya Major, she's down there. She's a wonderful speaker, and Glenn Jacobs, just you know, he's a great guy, Glenn, local guy who builds all the mountain bike tracks, and another man another individual who just looks at space that he's allowed to use, and then he turns into something magical, like for the local bike riders, the downhill races and things, and just the imagination and the creativity and the hard work that people like him and Parks and Leisure put into things. It's quite unbelievable, and it becomes apparent once you listen to them speak and look at what they do.
Okay, what about disability people? Are they getting a fair, you know, bite of the cherry, do you reckon?
Well, I think so. I mean, you know, my basic interests often do flow around either, you know, raising money for cancer research or what's happening with people with disabilities. But I've got to say, both those things these days are looking really positive. I mean, kids' cancer research is making huge inroads.
Yes.
And the statistics prove that. So that's a success story. That's going great. And people with disabilities, well, you know, I think these days, especially the younger generation, ideas and attitudes are shifting to the point where it's really good to see. I mean, when I was a little boy, if you had a disability or whatever, it was pretty much you're put in a corner and it was like, yeah,
in the shadows.
Yeah, don't make eye contact, keep moving. But you know, these days you'll see a lot of kids with disabilities in schools and things, and it's actually the opposite. They're often as a result of their disability, they're quite popular, and people want to, have a...
Well, they're leaders because they get out there and they do what they want to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've only got to look around now at the so-called disabled athletes. I mean, the times that these Paralympians are getting now, they're literally seconds or sometimes in some cases tenths of a second off the so-called able-bodied athletes.
Yeah, I know, it's scary stuff, isn't it?
Well, it is.
It's great.
And with technology now too, which is interesting, they've got other athletes saying it's not fair because people without legs are putting on those fancy prosthetics like Blade Runner and whatever. I mention that name. But of course, they're howling around the track twice as quick as the best able-bodied athletes now. And now there's a big argument about, but it's not fair, that's technology, blah, blah, blah. But, there's a lot of good things happening, for sure.
Now, Paul, it's all very well saying that, we're doing things right on the Esplanade, but what about the outer suburbs? What about the northern beaches? Are we doing enough there to make people enjoy life with the parks and leisure?
Yeah, I'm not really qualified, really, to sort of answer that in any way, I don't think. I mean, I personally love the northern beaches of Cairns, and I think another thing, see, we're so lucky here in Cairns that we really just have such a beautiful nature here. I mean, it's all there for us anyway. We don't have a population issue. We've got the tropical weather. We've got all these beautiful natural sort of formations out there. I mean, the whole of Cairns is really one big natural park, really. But parks and leisure, they'll go into the cities with the dense populations, and they'll go into areas where there's limited space and resources, and they'll just do magic things with space. Northern beaches. The way you ask that question, you might know more than I do, Mike, but I think there's potential to do a lot more than we have done, and I'm sure that most listeners would agree that...
I know, it's just that, look, at the end of the day, you always hear the moan and groan saying, yeah, it's all very well that they're pouring all the money into the city, but what about, the burbs? I'm thinking, well, they've got a bit of a point there.
Oh, yeah, I guess, but...
But, then again, if you come to the Esplanade, it's an outing, isn't it?
Oh, that's right, mate. They jump on the push bike and they go for a ride out of the burbs into the magic space and walk around and get some exercise. I'm being a bit sarcastic there. Look, mate, what would we do without our whingers, eh? We need the whingers, keeps us on our toes and gives us something to laugh at. So... And I guess people complaining about things, it does make councils listen, and it does, the squeaky hinge does get the oil, as they say. So I suppose if you make a fuss, you make a noise, you might get some attention and get some help. But, gosh, I don't think there's too much to be whinging about in terms of natural environment and what we've got up here. I think we're very, very lucky.
I mean, look at the front page of the Cairns Post this morning. Time to splash out. Council's found another $3 million, swimming pool and slippery slides and everything else going out to the south side, which is fantastic at Sugar World.
Oh, absolutely. That's great news. Look, I've always said, and as I say, I've been in tourism here for 20 years, and I've always said that the one thing that we desperately need here is somewhere affordable for families to go with kids on those hot, wet season days when you're just melting. And, there's the old thing of like, oh, we can't swim with the stingers and, we can't go to some of these rivers with the crocs and blah, blah, blah. But we really do need a big magic space with water slides and water features for the families and for everybody just to cool down and relax and enjoy it. But it's got to be affordable and it's got to be done right. And I think, we're always bagging out the council and we're always having a whinge. But, look, I've seen so many councils come through Cairns here. And, look, I think... just about, this is going to be controversial, probably me saying this, but I think all the councils have done a pretty good job. I mean, and that shows in how Cairns, we've had like the city mall and everybody saying we don't like that, etc. But the thing is, time moves on, things change.
Yeah, it evolves.
It evolves, and like back in the 80s, the mall was fine. We all thought it was great, and then moving forward, people thought, no, it's outdated, it's not working, and they changed it. I mean, it's just an evolution, and it's fine, it's natural, it's I think most councils I've ever seen in action up here have done a really, a good job.
Mate, absolutely. Do you miss Mount Everest?
Not at all, mate. Not at all. Look, the thing is with Mount Everest, look, let's just get this out there, mate. You've got to be an idiot to climb Mount Everest. If you were Sir Edmund Hillary or Tenzing Norgay back in '53, right. Well, that was noble and that was wonderful because they were pioneers, they were adventurers. They were going where no one had been before.
Well, I was going to ask you the question. What were you thinking?
Oh, mate, it's just a stupid thing to do. And look, I did it twice, which makes me double the idiot. It was a personal thing for me. I mean, a lot of people two-dimensionally will look at me or look at Everest and they go, oh, yeah, he's got one arm and he wanted to prove a point and he got piggybacked to the top by a Sherpa and had cuddles and baby milk on the way and we've all got to put up with him in the media and he's a pain. I mean, you get those, dream taker, two-dimensional type thinkers out there.
Yep.
But none of that's true, and Everest is not a big part of my story at all. I tell everybody, look, Everest is just a small part of my story. I'm not just the one-armed guy that climbed Everest. It's just a small part of my life, and what it did was give me a voice and a bit of power to raise some money for what I think are worthwhile causes, and that voice is pretty well paid too. So that's also people say, oh. It's funny, we have this argument with people all the time. They say things like, oh, you've got to be an idiot to do, anything like climb Everest. It's so dangerous, it's selfish.
But hang on a second, it's there. It's need to be conquered. If it's in your DNA, go for it.
Well, that's right. But you'll get some mums and things saying things like, oh, you're so selfish, you've got a family and you risk your life, etc. But, I always come back, I'm not shy to come back and swing a few, so I'll say things like, oh, okay, so, anyone in the military who, goes off to war zones or anybody who's into exploration or emergency services and they all risk their lives, but that's okay, is it? And they're like, yeah, but they're professionals. And it's like, well, I get paid pretty well for my speaking work, trust me. So, it's the same sort of thing. But what I love about my speaking work is being able to speak to people and just put it out there. Some of the things I put out there might be a bit controversial at first glance, but once you get people talking and thinking and going to another level and looking at things from different angles and accepting other people's points of view and, this kind of thing, it does really go to a positive place, a place where people are communicating and, really sort of asking the big questions. And there's just so many good people out there. And I find that in my speaking, it's a funny thing. When I first started speaking, I realised how many negative people there were, dream takers I call them, and how many people were there that would like to be the devil's advocate or be negative or throw things around. But the more I've travelled around and met people in different countries and around Australia, it's really heartening because I'm finding that in actual fact most people are really positive and really smart. You've just got to get that communication going,
Yeah, absolutely. So you're saying that our parks and leisure, you've given it the thumbs up and the people who've actually come from New York to London to our own backyard are very impressed with our region?
Absolutely, mate. And the other side of that, of course, is our local economy. There are so many of these delegates here and they're bringing so much money into our community and it's all for a very positive cause. And they're all absolutely giving Cairns the absolute thumbs up. Not just our natural beauty, but the way they've been received by our mayor, and the way they've been received by locals, and the service they're receiving from people like Down Under Tours. There's a bit of a plug for my company. Mm-hmm. But they really are very, very happy, and it's going very well, and they've given Cairns the absolute double thumbs up. Well,
I've got to tell you, Paul, you're a great ambassador for our region. Never, ever go, okay?
That's something I can't do, Michael. I can't do a double thumbs up, if you know what I mean.
Good man. I love your humour. Okay, mate, look after yourself, and thanks very much for taking the time to speak to our listeners this morning.
My pleasure. Thanks, mate. Bye.
Okay, then thank you very much. Now, there's a very positive person who just loves the region. And, of course, Parks and Leisure, there's a whole conference going on and everyone's giving it the thumbs up, especially the locals. And it's very important when people do come into these conferences, they get to be loved by the locals. And that's what's happening. And we appreciate Paul Hockey telling us his